Some of you are extremely successful financially, but there are other areas of your life that are suffering, whether it's your friendships, your health, your well-being. Some of you, it's just the complete inverse. You're in the best shape of your life, but you can't quite put things together financially, and you're just searching for the answer. I've got everything else in my life figured out. How do I take this next step and make the financial aspect of my life better? I just want to begin by sharing with each and every one of you. My late mentor, Nelson Nash, when he began a talk, he always said that he felt like a mosquito in a nudist colony. He knew exactly what he needed to do. He just didn't know where he should start. It all starts with the way that we think. And I hope that everybody is ready to examine their thinking and is ready to rethink their thinking. We all need the use of money. We're going to need the use of money for the rest of our lives. And that money has to come from a supply source, as everybody is aware of. You've heard us talk about on all of our content around the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. And when you think about it, I'm just going to shift my camera here because I want everybody to see something. So when you earn a paycheck, right? So you get money. That money flows onto the books of someone else's bank. And then the first thing that's got to be taken care of, you got to look after all the bills. So let's take some of that money, we'll apply it to the bills. And then you've got what's left over. Maybe you set aside a little bit in savings. You've got taxes. So let's go ahead and just take care of taxes. There we go. And then what about you? How much of this are you investing in you? Because right now, 100% of your financial resources that are flowing through your hands, you're already prioritizing. You're already allocating that money to all the things that you believe to be important in your life. And the best investment that you can make, it all begins with you. That's where the success seeds are planted. That's where the success seeds are nurtured. That's where your thinking resides, is with you. I want you to be thinking about your thinking, not mine. I'm going to give you a lot. I'm going to pour into each and every one of you, and I'm going to share with you some things that I think are really going to be helpful. But I want to challenge you to examine and really think about your thinking. If you feel that, maybe there's a little bit of onerous taxation going on and you're just getting a little bit sick and tired of it, then you've got to learn how to change that in your life. And you've got to learn how to do it legally. You've got to learn how to do it by working with a good coach. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to help you do. But I want to dive into the thinking elements. So I think, therefore I am, think positive, think and grow rich, right? It doesn't say be negative and grow rich. It doesn't say hope and pray and go rich. It's think and grow rich, because everything begins with the way that we think. And you've all committed to thinking differently today. I always ask folks, how many of you have read the book that was authored by my late mentor, Nelson Nash, titled Becoming Your Own Banker? If you have not read that book, you have an opportunity, because what I'm here to share is to tell you that that was the domino that tipped over for me. That was the domino that tipped over and created connection, created opportunity, brought really, really great mentors into my life to help me, to inspire me, to hold me accountable to becoming a better version of me. There's two different tracks here, right? In life, you can be a giver or you can be a taker. And I'm here to give to you one of my mentors, Joe Polish, who founded the Genius Network, one of the most brilliant, smartest guys that I know, also one of the biggest givers in my life. He's incredible. I quote him, "Life gives to the giver and takes from the taker." And this book that's titled What's in It for Them is such an exceptional read. I would wholeheartedly encourage you to get your hands on a copy of that book if you haven't read it already. It is absolutely incredible. And Lewis House, he talks about getting clear on what you want and then find the people to support you in getting it. There are so many things that I can share about myself, and I can glom on and on and on about that. And the fact of the matter is that you just don't care about that. You want to know, how can I 10x my life? How can I build the lifestyle that I desire versus reacting to the one I have? Some of you are extremely successful financially, but there are other areas of your life that are suffering, whether it's your friendships, your health, your well-being, mentally, physically. Some of you, it's just the complete inverse. You're in the best shape of your life. You feel like you've got all the mental energy that you need, but you can't quite put things together financially. And you're just searching for the answer. I've got everything else in my life figured out. How do I take this next step and make the financial aspect of my life better? And you may have heard the expression 10x, right? Grow 10x. I'm not just talking about money, because I'll tell you, when I earned my first million, I thought that I had arrived. I thought for sure this is going to be the pinnacle. I've achieved it. I'm standing on the summit. I'm a millionaire. And what I realized is that all that the money did was amplify more of who I already was. The money didn't make me happier, because having earned millions of dollars on top of that many, many times over, my happiness meter doesn't change when my bank account balance grows. That's not what happens in my life. The happiness meter changes when I'm giving, when I feel like I'm being in service to others. And so ask yourself, really examine that for you, and ask yourself, are you pursuing happiness, or are you intentionally creating it in your life? Because there's a much bigger distinction when you think about creating it versus pursuing it, because happiness is not a pursuit. It's something that you create. And when my journey began of, pursuing this financial abundance in my life, I lost sight of the other aspects of my life, and I became a full-blown workaholic. I worked before the sun come up and wouldn't stop working until long after the sun went down. Sacrificed more time with family than I can really ever articulate to anybody on the webinar tonight. Sacrificed, my health, and it didn't serve me. So I wasn't in the best position to be of service to others, because I started to burn the candle at both ends. And that wasn't the answer. The answer was to get crystal clear on what exactly I wanted, and then to make sure that I had the right who's in my life who possessed the capabilities to help mentor me to get the how's done. That is what really elevated and accelerated the success that I've been beyond blessed to experience in my life. And so having a coach, having a mentor is really important. And, this is what's culminated into the Lowe family group of companies, which cumulatively together will generate more than $30 million of revenue this year. The late R. Nelson Nash, if he can have the same impact on you, although he's no longer with us, he passed away in March of 2019, but he lives on through his body of work and through the concept and the process that he pioneered and developed. And having been blessed beyond the definition of good fortune to be mentored by him for so many years before he passed, if he can have the same impact on you, even a quarter of the impact on you that he's had on me, your life will change forever. And I give him all the credit and all the gratitude for the impact that he still continues to have to this day. And if you haven't viewed the documentary film that I had commissioned on my late mentor, you can do that by visiting nelsonnashfilm.com. Again, that's nelsonnashfilm.com. And when you get there, there's a 1-hour documentary that you can view. It's on the house, no charge. I know that you're going to love it, and it'll give you a deeper glimpse into the essence of just how amazing our Nelson Nash was. Here's another mentor of mine, Dan Sullivan, who founded Strategic Coach. He's been coaching entrepreneurs for the past 47 years and counting. Your eyes only see and your ears only hear what your brain is looking for in your life. When you hear the expression 10x, if you just stop and think about a bigger 10x future in your life, then your brain is immediately going to expand to that 10x. If we were sitting down together 3 years from today, What specifically would have had to have happened in your life, both personally and professionally, for you to feel happy about the progress that you made? I want you to think about all aspects of your life: health, wealth, giving. Those are the three categories, the three baskets that I try to fill up in that very same exercise. I want you to actually see and feel yourself enjoying those results everywhere in your life. And not just for this moment, but to really truly make it a daily habit, to expand your mind in that fashion. Because what ends up happening is that the 10x mentality becomes your normal way of thinking. And I'm not talking about taking your income from $1 to $10. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more freedom of time, more freedom of purpose, more freedom of relationships, more freedom of money. Certainly, that's a big element of it, because that can help really create more freedom in all three of the other areas that I described. But if you were to look back a decade in your life, you would have absolutely made bigger progress. Your results would have been bigger. And so you've got a chance right now to do this and to set those bigger goals for the next decade that's in front of you, and to do this in bite-sized increments. And the questions to ask yourself are, what activities are you doing more of now? Right? And what should you be doing less of? And how do you want the relationships to change in your life? Because don't wait for spring to do spring cleaning. And spring cleaning doesn't just apply to the basement and the garage. It applies to the people who are in your network. Make sure that you're doing some spring cleaning there as well. Once your brain grasps the concept of building a future that's much bigger than your past, it no longer becomes imaginary. The human brain cannot do anything extraordinary. The human brain is only capable of ordinary. If you're setting goals that have a healthy mix of fear and excitement, that's the right goal. And if you're setting goals that don't have a healthy mix of fear or excitement, you're already retired and you just don't even know it yet. And so what you got to do is you got to take that extraordinary result that you see being done, and you got to make it ordinary in your mind. Let's talk about income. I want you to think back to a point in your life where you were earning just 1/10 of what you're earning now. And could you have ever imagined where you are now? Right? For most people, the answer is always the same. It's, you know what? Probably not. Just as probably you can't imagine yet your bigger future, that 10x into the future. And you've already 10x'd in your life. And so you can definitely do it again. And you don't have to sacrifice the quality of your life. And you can do this without burning the candle at both ends. When somebody says to you, I want you to double your success, immediately your human brain goes to, okay, that's going to take twice as much work. And so something that would otherwise be really positive becomes negative, like right off the bat. And so a 2x goal, really all that it means is that it involves doing the same things that you're doing now, just doing more of them. Whereas a 10x goal is just the opposite of more work. In fact, it's a lot less work, but it's the right kind of work. You just have to develop the ability to operate in an entirely different way, right? That helps to bypass the stress and the complication that's associated with just doubling your success. Not to mention, just doubling your success, it's not big enough to warrant the change that's necessary for you to really, truly become the best version of yourself. And working late into the weekends or late into the evenings to pull off doubling your success is just not big enough to warrant the kind of change. You've already achieved it in your life. So if you think about the vocabulary, the knowledge, the skills, the connections with other people, the awareness of just your surroundings, you've undergone 10x development and expansion. You just need to do it again. And it can be really, really scary for some people, right? Because normalizing that notion and that idea, that the more you do that, the more that your brain recognizes that it is in fact achievable. You've got to be very specific in that programming. The human brain doesn't understand what to do with, I want to make more money. I want to be healthier. I want to have more deeper connection in the relationships that I have. The human brain doesn't understand a word of what you wrote down or described. But if you get really, really clear and specific, I want to grow my income from 300,000 to 900,000 on or before December 31st, 2025. I want to intentionally schedule a weekly date night with my spouse and take her out to a delicious meal and a stroll afterward, holding hands and talking to each other about everything that we're grateful for and feeling blessed about in our lives. The human brain knows exactly what to get to work on making real because you've programmed it with specifics, no generalities. And I promise you, this is the format that I've been utilizing since I began my own entrepreneurial journey. This is the exact formula that I've utilized. And it's worked extremely well for me. In the October-November timeframe of each year, this is the exact exercise that I go through. We normally kickstart that at the beginning of a new year. And this year, we've just been literally so incredibly busy that this was the earliest opportunity that we had. And some of you are reaching out and saying, hey, when are you going to launch that mentoring program? And they're calling our office and asking, where's the link? How do I enroll? And when are you going to launch this? And there's a reason why so many people are lining up to be in this program each year. And it's because they get results. And so in that link, what you're going to have the opportunity to do so you can enroll and you can spend 6 Monday evenings with me. Over the course of those 6 Monday evenings, you're going to change. You're going to change for the better. And it's going to set you on a trajectory, not only for the remainder of this year, but for every future year where you apply the very same framework that I'm going to coach you on. And it's the very same framework that I use. And that's why I expressed earlier, it's so critical. Make sure that whomever's coaching you in your life has achieved or is already achieving the results that you aspire to, and that it's someone that you can look up to, because I'm always looking at lifting other people up. And my mentors are always lifting me up. And I invest over $100,000 a year in coaching because it not only expands my freedom of money, but it expands my freedom of time, purpose, relationships, and helps me to establish even more cash confidence. It's worth every dime. I want you to think, if just on the financial aspect, if you had a framework to create more cash confidence in your life, how that would make you feel. Enroll in the Monday Night Mentoring with Jay. You're already prioritizing 100% of your financial resources to everything that you already have prioritized as being important. So take 10 of these and prioritize you. I want to talk a little bit more about something that fear can do. And there's two things that it can do. It can either motivate you or it can paralyze you. And that's entirely a function of who you see yourself being in the future. And for myself personally, I always see a bigger version of me, right? There's no such thing as having arrived in being the best version of me. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to pursue. And even now, there's a Jayson in the future who's much more skillful and influential than I already am now. And the same applies to you. And again, I'm addressing you directly. If you look into the future, I promise you that there's a version of you that's even more skillful and more influential than you may already be right now. And being a truly growth-focused person, it just requires a basic disposition, right? You have to have really, really big goals. You've got money and you're storing it somewhere, right? The money has to reside somewhere. And when you look ahead to that period of time in retirement, I want you to think of money as, let's use a food analogy. If you have a freezer in your house, if you were to imagine for a moment taking a loaf of bread and sticking that loaf of bread in the freezer and then opening the freezer up 30 years from now and pulling that loaf of bread out and putting a few slices in the toaster, do you think that bread's going to taste good, or is it going to be just a little bit more than bitter? I think bitter. And so you'd never do that with your food. Why are you doing that with your money? You're literally freezer burning your money inside of tax qualified plans, or you're handing control of your money over to someone else who thinks they can do better with it than you can. And the fact of the matter is that your money has to reside somewhere. And so if you understood the attributes of the tool that we utilize to implement a process, okay, so when we are talking about a process, I'm referring to the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. That's a process, not a product. It's not an investment. Never has been, never will be. What we're talking about is a function. When you think of the money that you handle in your life, right? Because when I talk to people and I say, hey, how much money do you make? Oh, I make 100,000 a year. You don't make 100,000 a year. You handle 100,000 a year. All of that money shows up on the books of someone else's bank before you see a penny of it. And then while it sits there waiting for you to pay all your bills and take care of everything that I shared earlier, you and I both know your bank's not letting that money sit still. They got to keep that money in motion. This money that I have in my hands right now isn't worth a damn thing. It's not in motion. It's just paper. It's not worth anything. It's just a medium of exchange. I got to keep it in constant motion in order for it to be worth something. You know, Revenue Canada is great, right? They trust you. So they just wait for the new year for you to file your tax return so you can pay in what you owe in income tax, right? Not a chance. That money is deducted automatically from your paycheck. And so everyone else is getting all the money and you're doing all the work to earn it. And you're doing things with your money right now that you would never do with the things that your money buys. And when you understand the attributes of dividend paying, participating whole life insurance as a tool, a unilateral binding contract, it's life insurance. Because when you think of life insurance, you think about dying. And this particular type of life insurance contract has more financing characteristics than it does death benefit characteristics. So I'm not just talking about shielding what you accumulate from too much tax. I'm talking about making sure that when you die and the knock from Revenue Canada comes and there's tax obligations that need to be taken care of, that there's more than enough tax-free windfall, death benefit proceeds that show up exactly when they're needed the most. My definition of the best investment is the one that pays the most when it's needed the most. I want you to ask yourself this question. How much of your capital do you not want residing there? Think about this logically. Okay, I get contractually guaranteed daily buildup that can't go backward, regardless of what's going on in the economy, regardless of what's going on in the real estate cycle. I get contractually guaranteed daily buildup. I pay no tax on that accumulation. I become a co-owner of the very company that I'm describing. And in exchange for my co-ownership, I receive a share of the divisible profits generated for me and for every other co-owner. And I pay no tax on the dividends. And then I die someday and my family gets replenished with a significant tax-free windfall of money. How much capital of mine do I not want residing there? Because for most people, they think of this as an either or. Okay, I've got this much money. I'm either going to take this and go buy some real estate, or I'm going to take this and put it into a dividend paying participating whole life insurance policy. What we do is different. Our money resides in the dividend paying participating whole life insurance policy. And we use the life insurance company's money to go and buy the real estate, to go and invest in that high caliber opportunity, to go and do the things that we need to do to finance all those things that we need throughout our lifetime. Our money never leaves our control. It just continues growing every single day without interruption. There's no stock market correction that can take any of it away. There's no recession that can take any of it away. There's nobody with the title tax collector who can take any of it away. We're at a point, I want you to think about the state of the union out there. We've got politicians that are drooling when they take a look at your purse, they take a look at your wallet, they take a look at your registered retirement savings account balances, because you're on the government's radar. That's a registered tax qualified plan, and they're drooling. And when you think about what's happening right now with interest rates and inflation, and I want everybody to pay very close attention to what I'm about to say. The government, regardless of political leanings, there's a lot of government debt that's going to roll over at a much higher rate of interest. Where do you think the money is going to come from to pay the bill? The taxpayer. So again, logic. If you tap into logic, if you know that dividend paying participating whole life insurance contract, which is a life insurance policy, death benefit has to have merit. There has to be justification for putting a policy of that nature in place. All of those things considered and true, and you know that that tool is the greatest exemption that exists in our Canadian tax code today. There's no greater exemption. How much capital of yours do you not want residing there? For the past 15 years, going on 16 years this July, not a single client of mine has ever contacted me. Not a single client of Ascendant has ever contacted the firm to say, we have a complaint. Well, what's the complaint? I want to complain that I'm really upset that my cash values keep rising every day. That's really bugging me. Well, I'm sorry, we can't do anything to reverse that. Logic. Let's tap into logic a little bit more. You get to become a co-owner of a company that's never failed to produce a divisible profit. What percentage of ownership do you want in a business with that track record? This is a company that's producing double-digit returns on policyholders' equity year in, year out, decade in, decade out. And you don't have to do a thing to produce that other than pay your premium. And premiums are a payment. They come from your supply source of money. How much of that money and financial energy do you want flowing into an entity that you co-own that has never failed to produce profit, that shields your accumulation from onerous taxation and gives you total and absolute control over how you finance all the things that you need throughout your lifetime? Infinite banking is a process. It's not a product. What I was just describing to you were the attributes of a product. What you do with that product is a process. That's the distinction. What you can do is you can set out to achieve anything that you desire. All of the businesses that I've been blessed and privileged to co-construct with all of my team members, that we build them together every single day, all of the financial abundance that we've created, all of the money that we've given to communities and organizations and families in need, that was all made possible because I decided to take control of the function that someone else was already performing in my life. And that function is banking. And so few people have any idea at just how important that function is in their lives. And because they have no idea, they not only abdicate the responsibility of banking, but they abdicate the opportunity that it represents. And so you can continue doing all the work to earn this and continue transferring it away to everyone else and continue to be frustrated because you know that something's fundamentally wrong with the financial system out there. You just can't quite put your thumb on it. You can continue to experience that problem, or you can come to terms with the fact that it is a problem and that becoming your own banker is the solution to that problem. Do you believe that the government is going to require more or less money in the future? And the source is going to be taxable sources of money. Most of you would have to go for an ECG if you were to tabulate every area of your life that you're taxed in. And so let's shield what you're going to work hard to accumulate. Let's shield that from too much tax. Let us help you do that. If you think about inflation and what's happening in your life right now, if you want to beat the pants off of inflation, you owe it to yourself to investigate this process. And that process is becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. This book that I'm holding in my hands, it's 92 pages in length, but it's not 92 pages of reading. It takes less than an afternoon to get through. And this book changed everything for me. This was the domino. I would not be before you today had I not read this book and had I not fully immersed myself in taking control of that function as it relates to my needs. Anybody who tells you that change, transformative change, if you think about any area of your life, if they tell you that that highway is smooth as can be, they're either delusional or they have no track record and have no clue what they're talking about. It's going to be a bumpy ride, and you're going to become a much better version of you. And then you're going to be able to help bring purpose to other people's capabilities as well. You're going to be of service to others in your life, and you're going to be more present because you have better cash confidence. You're a little bit slimmer around the waistline. You've got a little more energy. So join me Monday evenings and let's start getting you the life that you deserve. Mentorship's not a prerequisite to becoming your own banker. No, these are two different things. The process of becoming your own banker, this is what we live and breathe and do and have been specializing in the past 15 years. The mentoring comes from the right coach on my team. And it's not just on a Monday night. We operate day in and day out. And so make sure you get in touch with our team. If that's a process you want to explore and you want to investigate on how it can work in your life, you got to get connected with the right person on my team. You know, what the Monday mentoring is going to cover, we're going to go through the framework of building a future that's bigger than your past. And that's going to involve a little bit of a reset in your thinking. So we're going to spend some time together doing that, which if you take away anything from Monday mentoring, that is going to be lifelong impactful, you know, for anybody who's planning to be in attendance. We're going to talk about how to create that momentum. We're going to talk about the 4 C's. We're going to talk about how to create more freedom of time, purpose, relationship, and money, and focus in on each one of those segments. We're going to talk about how I go through my goal setting process, and I'm going to give you that step-by-step method of how I do it, and so much more. Progress begins where, Michael?
Well, with ourselves.
And telling the truth.
Okay.
Right? If you're truthful with yourself, say, okay, I feel like I've made all the progress in my life that I need to make. Or I feel like there's more progress for me to make. I'm here to help you. And that's what the Monday Night Mentoring is for, is to help you make remarkable progress. But I often say that getting a membership at a gym and working out there are 2 completely different things. And so you can enroll in the mentoring, and if you achieve change that's progressive and remarkable, that'll be because of you. And if you don't, it'll also be because of you. Maybe this was the domino that tipped over for you to move forward with the process of becoming your own banker in your life, to schedule that call, to get connected with the right person on my team. But come on out and hang out. Spend some time with me. You can create all the financial abundance in your life that you want. But without a good coach and a mentor, you may end up squandering it. You may end up blowing through it a lot faster than you realize. And I'm blessed to be surrounded by so many great teammates who love to be of service to others and to coach and mentor. And that's what we do. That's where it all begins.